Hello, we're back with another Good Shepherd Compassion Talk, and this time I have my animal friend Lizaboa. Loves to climb. She's a red-tailed boa constrictor, and she loves to climb trees and limbs, and me, one of her favorite things to do. But I thought I'd just kind of introduce some of the animals that we have here. We've rescued over the years many different kinds of animals, everything from wild native animals here in Louisiana. We've rescued and raised up many orphan possums and raccoons and squirrels, and rescued many that were injured and got them healed, rehabilitated, and released. But we have a number of animals that we can't release, some because they're exotics, like Lizaboa. It's against the law to release an exotic animal that's not native to Louisiana or to America, and have also a number of wild animals that are disabled. They're healed, but they're disabled and can't be released because they wouldn't be able to take care of themselves. And then we also have some domestic animals that also are disabled, but the disabled animals actually teach a very important principle that disabilities can make you more lovable, not less lovable. Even though not a whole lot of people think that Lizaboa is lovable, but she is very affectionate, loves to be held, very smart. She knows different people. She knows who I am, and she's very comfortable when I hold her, less comfortable when other people hold her, but she would never bite. I've had her for 18 years. She's been raised up by a family that no longer wanted to take care of her and asked if I would adopt her, so I did. And she would never bite anybody. She just enjoys being held and carried around. Sometimes we take her out on a hike with students that I teach. We bring her to a lot of Good Shepherd talks when we travel, and go out and kind of use the animals as animal assistant ambassadors to teach, particularly like for example with the snakes, to teach that snakes are not as scary as a lot of people think. Poisonous, venomous snakes are, but snakes like Lizaboa, when they're raised and handled regularly, they really get to know you and enjoy it. They're cold-blooded, so they enjoy the heat. I'm going to go ahead and put her up so I can get out a couple of the other animals as we try to introduce a few of them. All right, she doesn't like to go back in her habitat. She much prefers to be out and to be held, so it's kind of like putting a dog in a bathtub for a bath. She doesn't really want to go back in, but she might this time. We'll see. There you go, Lizzie. There you go. Come on. There you go. All right. That's it. Good. She did. Went back in pretty good. Better than usual. Like I said, it's like trying to give a dog a bath and put them in a bathtub. Except my dog Scotty, who's trained to work with people with disabilities and help take care of the animals. And Scotty loves the bath, especially when it's a nice warm bath. All right, let me get another one of our animals, another snake, just since we're talking about snakes already. All right, this is Layla. Layla is a ball python. Layla is, they call it a ball python because when they're afraid, they'll ball up, wrap up into kind of a tight coiled ball and then hide their head to protect. But she's used to being held. She was acquired by a young boy many years ago, and he grew up, went in the military, couldn't take the snake, and so he asked if somebody would adopt Layla for the rest of her life, and we did. Layla is a really good example of, especially because she's not as big as Lizaboa, but she's a great example of how snakes are safe as long as they're not venomous, and they really make amazing friends, animal friends. They're very smart. She really knows how to communicate. She and Lisboa both know how to communicate and let me know when they're hungry or they want to get out and be held. They just simply come up to the glass and they're staring at me constantly as I'm in the classroom teaching, and that's their little signal that they want something, and then I'll come over and, depending on whether I know that they're hungry, they hadn't eaten in a while. Snakes are amazing. They have very slow metabolism, so they only eat about once a week, once every 10 days, sometimes once every 2 weeks. Very easy to take care of, but she'll actually come over and ask to be taken out and be held. I'm going to put her up so we can get a couple of others and introduce them. All right, let's see. I think I'll get Bartley back here, our little duck. Hey, Bartley. Hey, buddy. Come here. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. I got you. I got you. Did you not fall? I got you. I got you. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. Yes, you're not going to fall. I got you. Bartley is a blind duck, Ashbury duck. He was born blind with no eyes, and the place that sells little baby ducks to be raised up for food, people raise them up for 5-6 weeks until adulthood, and then they kill them to eat them, and so all of Bartley's brothers and sisters are gone, but he's been with us for over a year, and he will be with us for the rest of his life, possibly 8 or more years, lifespan of a duck. But he is extremely loving, loves to be held. Oh, he loves music. Bartley loves music, probably the only duck in the world that loves music. We discovered that when my wife comes over to help me take care of animals. She turns on the music on one of our Bluetooth speakers, and we looked over. First time she did that, and it's all right, I'm not going to drop you. Oh, it's all right. I'm not going to drop you. Yes, boy. Since he can't see, sometimes he worries that he'll fall. He loves music. He looked over and he was just swaying his head back and forth, kind of surfing the sound waves, just like the great musician Stevie Wonder, who also is blind. But Bartley is probably the only duck in the world that just really, really loves music. And of course loves swimming. He has a big pin in the back of my classroom, and he also has a big 4-foot in diameter wading pool that he loves to swim in. Bartley. His favorite treat is canned corn. How about it? Yes, I know. Oh, I mentioned the word. Very smart. I mentioned the word corn. He knows what that is. Yeah, I'm going to get you some corn. I'm going to get you some corn in just a little bit, okay? All right, I'm going to put you back, okay? All right. I don't have any corn yet, but I know I'm going to get you some corn. All right, he knows that word. All right, I'm going to put Bartley back in his pen. Get another animal friend who also is disabled. I was going to get, that's our little pigeon, Freddy, down here, but Freddy has run up underneath the cabinet because he wanted to be free to explore a little bit. Freddy is our disabled pigeon who was injured by an animal that attacked him. We got him healed. His flight muscles were damaged. So as a pigeon, he's a relatively quiet animal in the classroom, just kind of makes a little cooing noise regularly. This one is, I'll get Freddy the pigeon in just a minute if I can get him to come back out. He'll get bored with exploring. He usually comes, there he is back there. I saw him on the ground. He's, he'll come by in a minute. This is Yoda. Yoda was raised up from a little tiny baby. He's a bearded dragon by one of my former students, and she did a great job of raising him and handling him a lot. So he loves to be held. And she went off to college, wasn't able to bring Yoda with her, so we adopted him. He'll be with us for life, but He really loves to be held. He'll actually come over to the glass there in his terrarium habitat, and he'll bump his nose on it, or even take his foot and kind of scratch on it, looking at me, just like a dog does at the door. And that means he wants me to either feed him or to pick him up. Usually it's to pick him up and hold him. He'll just stay like this forever. My wife loves to just hold him. He's really like kind of a little puppy. Hi, Yoda. Yeah. Hi, Scotty. You like him? I'll show you Scotty in just a minute. You might have seen him down there. Camera's not really low enough to be able to see Scotty, my service dog that we train to work with the animals and also with people with disabilities, particularly students with disabilities. All right, let me put Yoda back. I'm sorry, Yoda, I'm going to put you back, but I'll get you out again later on. All right, let me get Yoda back in his little house. Yoda loves his new hammock that my wife got for him. There you go, buddy. You got it? All right, there you go. All right, wait right there. All right. Let's see. Let me get, oh, here we go. Let me get one of our smallest little animals that is a permanent resident. This is Tiny. Tiny is a box turtle, eastern box turtle, and he is very, very tiny. Those who are familiar with box turtles will think, oh, he must be a baby. He's really not. His growth is stunted because when he was young, the folks that were taking care of him were very good and gentle to him and tried to feed him properly, but they just didn't give him enough calcium. So he developed what's called metabolic bone disorder, and his growth is stunted. He should be, at his age, he should be a full-grown box turtle, about this big. But he will probably be tiny for the rest of his life, which is why we call him Tiny. But he is, looks like he's flying. He loves to, in the summertime when it's nice and warm and sunny, we take him out, let him walk around and run around. All right, Freddy, I'll come get you. Freddy, our pigeon back there, is up on a container back there, flapping his wings at me, so I think he wants to be picked up and held. He actually also loves to be held. All right, let me put little Tiny back up and see if Freddy will come visit with us. Are you ready? Yeah, good boy. Good boy. All right. There we go. Oh, that's right, Freddy. All right, here we go. Yes, here we go. Freddy is a pigeon. Pigeons are actually African rock doves from Africa and were brought over here a long time ago, and now, as everybody knows, have kind of taken over. They are everywhere. Freddy was attacked by some animal, tore up his chest muscles, his flight muscles. We got him healed. However, they're disabled, so he cannot fly. He can barely fly. He can get up. I've got a big net up on the ceiling up there with a lot of artifacts and things, and he loves to fly up there and then sort of lands. He does all right, but not great. But he could never be released because he can't fly well enough to get away from a predator. But it took me 2 years to convince Freddy that I was not going to hurt him like whatever animal tried to attack him. He really has kind of PTSD, and so anybody he doesn't know, he'll be terrified if they reach towards him and try to peck him. But for 2 years, every time I would carry him around, he would be constantly pecking me and scratching me and biting me and trying to get me to let him go. But I wanted him to be, since he had to be in captivity for the rest of his life, I wanted him to learn to get used to people, because he was a wild pigeon. And after 2 years of this, and just never had any progress, he was constantly, whenever I held him, just would not stop trying to bite me and get loose. Finally, I accidentally walked in front of my mirror back in the back at my sink to get something, and I realized he stopped biting me and clawing me. I looked down, and he was staring at the mirror at me and him, and he would look at us, and then he'd look back up at me. He did that about 4 times, and then he just realized, it was obvious, he realized that I was just holding him, I wasn't attacking him, and he just laid his head back on my chest and decided he really enjoyed being held. And so he loves this. He'll just stay like this for a very, very long time. Sometimes just lay his head and his neck back on my chest and almost go to sleep. He loves it. Huh, buddy? Yeah. All right. Okay, you want to go play while I get somebody else? All right, let me get one more. Don't have a lot of time for too many. I'll just let Freddy sit right there for a second while I get one more animal friend that I think is pretty interesting and a great example of a science truth. All right, Freddy, hop off, buddy. There you go. All right, this is not a snake. This is a Russian legless lizard. It's actually a lizard, has eyelids and can blink. He has shoulder bones and hip bones. However, a mutation in the population, mutations are always a error in the DNA code, a loss of information, the information for him to finish growing as a young lizard, finish growing his legs. So mutations are always a loss of genetic information and a loss of either a structure or a process. Like Candy the corn snake, she has a mutation that makes it where she cannot grow and develop the dark brown pigment, which is why she's partially albino. And Charlie here, his name is Charlie, can't grow legs. The whole population, the mutation now is pretty much in the whole population, and so the whole population just barely survives hiding under leaves and eating earthworms and whatever they can find. But totally different from a snake. As you noticed from the snakes I was holding, they're extremely agile, like ninjas, because they are built to do that, to climb and to move with no legs. Just amazing agility. However, Charlie barely can get around. I have to hold him carefully, because if I don't hold him carefully, he'll just slip right out of my hand and fall to the floor, because he is not built to have no legs. But he's very gentle. These live 40 years or more. He was given to me, and we adopted him almost 20 years ago, and he was already an adult. So I don't know how old he is now, but like I said, he can live up to 40 years or more. But we'll have him for the rest of his life. But he's a great illustration of the truth about mutations. You know, we see these movies that are fun science fiction, like X-Men, that try to get everybody to believe that mutations are going to make everybody real cool and extra powers and abilities and enhance everything. Doesn't happen. Mutations are errors, loss of information, loss of structure, loss of processes, and we have lots and lots of human genetic disorders. That's what they cause. All right, now I'm going to put Charlie back up, and I think that'll be it for today. Maybe another day we'll bring out some of the other animal friends. Hi, Charlie. All right, buddy.